People that are organising on Grenfell are marching for all of you, and I'll tell you why. Not only are there over 300 buildings in this country that have this combination of cladding on it, which are part of social housing. There's an untold amount of private buildings, of hotels, of hospitals and schools. People in Croydon who are leaseholders be told they have to pay £30,000 service charge to get this removed from their block. For people to believe that this is something that couldn't happen to them because they work in an office block, or because they're in a hotel, or because they're in a school, or because they're in a hospital, unfortunately, they're very sadly mistaken. What really needs to be looked at is the incestuous relationship between construction companies like Celotex, who as of 2011 were boasting on their website from a post they later deleted. Celotex enters government. We are now shaping building regulations to maximize benefit to our industry. You had the technical director of the company of Celotex, Mark Allen, as an advisor to Sajid Javid on the issue of building regulations. Those relationships are not being interrogated, unfortunately. What effect did that have on building regulations? It's not possible for me to conceive of a way in which the technical director of a company advising on building regulations would not advise what was in his interest. So I want to know what was the correspondence between Mark Allen and Sajid Javid, especially when considering that it's Mark Allen's company, Celotex, and their RS5000, that they came out in January of this year clearly saying that they misdescribed the test that they administered on it. It definitely didn't meet the criteria for limited combustibility. How many other industries are regulating themselves in this country? And how is it we have a political elite which is happy for members of the populace to die simply for hubris and greed on the part of a transnational corporate class? As of 2016, the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea received £33.4 million from construction companies in order for those companies to skirt their legal obligation for a quota of affordable housing within their new builds. Feilding-Mellen, the deputy leader of the council at the time, was a property developer. So within that nexus, it's inevitable that the people within the borough on what is considered prime real estate will be treated with disdain. But of course, at the same time, there is the wider implications of John Prescott in 2003 altering approved document B in tandem with a BRE, Building Research Establishment, and what that meant for building regulations. Previously, you'd had Thatcher take away 300 pages of building regulations and replace it with around 20. It opened the space, especially in the Prescott era, for the installation of combustible materials on buildings. We know that there had been a zinc fire-resistant cladding agreed upon by members of the community and by the council for use, but Feilding-Mellen in the last moment changed to this other cladding because it was good price, as was put in the email that Feilding-Mellen wants good prices. RBKC had reserves of 300 million plus. So the decision to choose a cladding which was cheaper was simply austerity by choice. This is something that actually is symptomatic and indicative of a kind of bipartisan orthodoxy of neoliberal necropolitics, which unfortunately the political elite in this country has been dedicated to in a major way across the last 3 decades. In terms of austerity on a national and a local level, in 2008 we saw greed of a transnational banking class turned into debt for people who are literally the heart and lungs of the society. We saw a Robin Hood in reversal, transfer of wealth upwards. In a sense, that's what austerity is. It's demanding in a dictatorial fashion everyday people who make up the society, the 99% of the society, to pay for the greed and to subsidize the obscene and obnoxious wealth of the 1%. Now, in all of these situations, there is always a human cost. We need to see real interrogation of the incestuous relationship between corporate power and the state. It could be your child sleeping in a hospital, which is a death trap. It could be your child going to a school, which is a death trap. This is a systemic problem. When people are marching for Grenfell, they are marching for you.